It's brought to you by allaboutmqm.org, the MQM's knowledge base.
I'm not certain if we have Mr. Rizvi back on the line with us, but that committee's recommendations. Yes, I'm told that Mr. Rizvi is on the line. Mr. Rizvi, welcome to Witness.
Thank you very much, Katrina.
Mr. Rizvi, you were part of that committee on national security that presented recommendations to the government on national security. We have never even seen those recommendations. What happened to it?
It was in Parliament the very same day when that Nifaz Sharia bill was also introduced into the Parliament, and both of the documents were accepted by and approved by the Parliament on the very same day. I believe that the problem was about the implementation of those recommendations, because those 14 recommendations were widely published in the media as well. But I don't know, what about the implementation, because implementation was the most critical and important part as far as those recommendations were concerned. And we had few meetings of those Committee of the National Security, but we haven't seen very good implementation of that as well till now, and that is why we are seeing those problems into those areas.
Mr. Rizvi, I would like to clarify over here. One thing we saw was a resolution by the joint session of Parliament that was widely publicized. The recommendations of the committee, could you give us some of the highlights?
Yeah, there was few recommendations were very important, that we never gonna have a talk to Taliban until unless they will accept the law and the constitution of Pakistan, and that was the basic thing, that if they are agreeing on that they will abide by the law and the constitution of Pakistan, then the Parliament will allow the government to talk to Taliban. Otherwise, there will be a carrot and stick policy will go on with the Taliban. I don't know what this situation is right now, but the army moved into those areas, I believe, in the light of those recommendations.
And sir, you are of course a member of the coalition government. The Defence Committee of the met yesterday, and they are trying to revamp Pakistan's counter-terrorism strategy. What kind of revamping do we need to do? Is the parliamentary recommendations list more important, or do we need a new strategy?
I don't know, but I believe that the correct platform for reviewing the policies, again, the Committee on the National Security. I don't know under whose guidance the Defence Committee is doing that, because the Defence Committee pertains to the defence areas of the government and the defence areas of the army. But the National Security Committee was all about the defence and all about the foreign policies and internal policies. It pertains to the Ministry of Interior. I don't know how come the defence policy will do that.
Okay, Mr. Rizvi, critically, who is in charge of security? It is the Interior Ministry, is it not? And that is responsible to Parliament.
It's supposed to be Interior Ministry, yes. And they are very much, even the Prime Minister is answerable to the Parliament.
So then why isn't this thing taken up in Parliament?
I don't know. That's what the question is. Like, do they have authority? I mean, the Defence Committee, under what authority they are trying to review that parliamentary committee's resolution, because it was approved by the Parliament, and if anything need to be corrected,
I'm talking about the Defence Coordination Committee that met yesterday. I'm talking about the Defence Coordination Committee that met yesterday, and they talked about revamping a strategy.
If they are trying to do that, they should come back to the National Committee, the Committee on the National Security.
Okay. And Mr. Rizvi, of course, I want to take advantage of your knowledge in this area, the Karachi attack, the attack on Ashura in Karachi. It is now very, very clear that terrorists are targeting areas that they had not targeted before, be it Kashmir or be it Karachi, from the south to the north. Do you see a change in the pattern of terrorism in Pakistan now?
MQM was always been talking about the strategy of those Taliban and the terrorists, because when the army moved into those areas, especially in the southern Waziristan, and we always talked about that, please don't let Taliban fly from there, and they will spread themselves strategically and tactically all over Pakistan, and especially those areas where they have a very little population. And now what they are trying to do is they are engaging the Pakistan Army and the other law enforcement agencies all over Pakistan. They are spreading themselves, and they are trying to do whatever they can do into the far-flung areas of Pakistan, including Kashmir as well, where we have never heard these kinds of incidents before.
Absolutely. And the disturbing element also, Mr. Rizvi, could shed some light. I actually made a mistake myself by referring to it as a suicide attack in Karachi. We are now hearing reports that it was a remote-controlled device that was detonated from a distance, and it was placed in a container. Do you have any more information on that for us?
No, I don't know, because I was away from the country and I just joined Pakistan again days back. But most of the committees I'm talking to and most of the people I'm talking to, they are saying that this was a remote control device rather than a suicide bombing.
And when we talk about Karachi, which had been miraculously saved from the scourge of terrorism for these past couple of years, and this attack was really the first of its kind, are you preparing for any other eventualities? Are Karachi now bracing itself for potentially more attacks?
MQM always believes in the human intelligence and awareness against this Talibanization and the terrorism in Pakistan, and we were quite successful in that strategy because we have developed the neighborhood committees where people are keeping an eye on the people who are coming into their neighborhood. They are trying to hire, rent, purchase, and who are trying to get the houses there, and who's who, and they are those neighborhood committees are trying to find it out, and they want to keep an eye on everybody who's coming and going, and that's how we are countering terrorism, especially in Karachi. And we can advise all of the Pakistan that every political party should develop these kind of neighborhood committees if they have influence over them, that this is the only way we can curtail the Taliban and terrorism in Pakistan.
Okay, and Mr. Rizvi, I'll make this the last question. The Interior Minister, Mr. Rahman Malik, has issued new directives to the Rangers, giving them wider powers. Karachi's citizens don't have a very good history with law enforcement. In the 90s, we saw the worst spate of violence between Karachi's residents and political activists and the law enforcement authorities. Do you think the people of Karachi are ready for an expanded role of Rangers and police in their city?
This time I believe the terrorists, most of the terrorists are coming from the other area that doesn't belong to Karachi. Karachi is a very, very liberal city, I believe. And those who are coming to Karachi are the basic intruders. And if the law enforcement agencies are getting more stronger on that very specific people who are coming to Karachi, we are happy with that.
So the people of Karachi are going to be supportive of that?
Of course, we are supporting the law enforcement agencies already at the grassroots level, and we are supporting them, providing them human intelligence, and that's how we are trying to curb the terrorism specifically in Karachi.
Okay, Mr. Haider Abbas Rizvi, Deputy Parliamentary Leader of the Muttahida Qawmi Movement, thank you so much for having joined us here on Witness.